Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Healing with Psychology. I'm Dr. Ketki Chavan, and today I want to address a silent struggle that almost every single one of us faces at some point. It's that heavy, frustrating feeling of being stuck. You know the feeling? You want to change your life, you read the books, you set the goals, yet you find yourself repeating the same behaviors, dating the same wrong people, or falling back into the same anxious thought loops. And even though I'm a life coach, I still fall into these negative loops, and that made me wonder, I'm trying so hard to learn how to live life the right way. When will I ever feel the happiness that comes with it? I mean, I do feel happy, but there is that high and low that keeps going on. So, today I want to talk about the change that takes place on a deeper level, not just surface level habit tracking way, but fundamentally rewiring our beliefs, healing our emotional wounds of childhood, and freeing ourselves from the limitations of our past. Could we live without this constant internal friction? And if this inner change is truly powerful, how exactly do we bridge the gap between where we are and who we want to be? So, I decided to study profound personal transformation through the lens of psychology, neuroscience, and ancient wisdom. So, across different cultures, traditions, and schools of psychology, there is a common idea or a common goal that you have to understand, that you are not this body or mind, you are the soul. And I think the point of this idea is that you're not just your conditioning or the way you were raised and experienced your life till now. Your power is in the present moment. When we feel stuck, it's usually because we have over identified with our ego or our body and mind, and that is the protective shell of habits, fears, and beliefs that we built during our childhood to survive. But beneath that shell, there is something deeper. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. This is a quote by Carl Jung, and he called this deeper intelligence the self, which is the core of your consciousness that goes beyond your daily anxieties. So, ancient traditions have called it the soul or the divine within, and in Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, it is described as pure, unbroken consciousness that is within every individual. So, that means this stuck version of you is not the true you, it is merely a pattern that you have learned. There is a deeper part of you that is untouched by whatever happens to you, and when we connect with that deeper, unconditioned part of ourselves, that is when transformation becomes possible and permanent. But the next question is, how do we exactly do this? For a long time, the scientific community believed that by the time you reached your adulthood, your personality and brain were entirely fixed. If you are an anxious person, you were stuck being an anxious person all your life. They used to say that nature has no cure or something like that. But modern neuroscience has completely dismantled this idea through the discovery of neuroplasticity. I'm sure you must have heard of neuroplasticity. It is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural pathways or connections throughout life. Every thought that you repeat, every emotion that you practice, and every belief that you reinforce, it literally strengthens those specific neural pathways in your brain. So they could be positive or negative. If you have spent 20 years practicing self doubt, your brain has built a strong pathway for that. But this also means that your limitations are not a life sentence. With time, awareness, and repetition, your brain can rewire itself. The beliefs that were formed in childhood, they don't have to dictate your entire future. You literally have the power to change every single one of your beliefs that are not currently serving you. So, inner transformation is incredibly powerful. So, here's what can change dramatically with neuroplasticity: how you speak to yourself when no one is listening, which is your self image. Second thing is your emotional baseline, moving from chronic anxiety to a default state of calm. Your reactivity, gaining the ability to pause before lashing out or shutting down. Your boundaries, having the courage to say no without guilt. So, when these internal metrics change, your external life also transforms. So, you stop accepting toxic relationships, you apply for the job that you think you're not good enough for. From the outside, it looks like you have become a completely different person, but in reality, you have just stopped acting out of fear. When people imagine a transformed life, they often picture perfection, which is never feeling sad, never getting angry, and floating through life on a cloud. And that's what I also do, but psychology describes it much more realistically. Abraham Maslow called the highest state of human development self actualization. It doesn't mean being perfect, so self actualized people are not perfect. They still face tragedies and frustrations, but they also tend to experience deep authenticity, which means they don't wear a mask to please others. There's a natural flow of creativity and purpose. They're at peace within themselves and the whole world around them. They are able to enjoy material as well as emotional abundance without guilt. So they are thinking that they're worthy of everything. They're not living a perfect life, but they are simply living in alignment with who they truly are. So, how do we actually get unstuck? If we want dramatic change, it usually happens through 5 specific layers. Number one is layer of identity. Most of us try to change things on the outside or try to force a change in our habits without changing how we see ourselves. But if deep down you believe that you are a lazy person, no alarm clock in the world will magically make you a morning person for long. You have to shift your identity. So imagine you're trying to quit eating junk food or trying to quit eating sugar. So you might say, I can't eat sweets, I'm on a strict diet, and it might feel like punishment. Eventually, your willpower will break, and when there is opportunity, you might say yes to sweets. For example, during weddings or festivals, you might binge on sweets. And if you think I'm someone who respects my body and treats it well, then even if you're offered sweets, you will simply say, no, thank you, I don't eat much sugar. Because now it has become your identity. So, when you shift your identity or how you see yourself, your actions will naturally follow. You will stop asking, how do I force myself to do this thing? For example, how do I force myself to study for this exam? And you will start asking, what would a dedicated, focused student do right now? Second is the layer of emotional healing. Now, we all carry invisible emotional weight, usually from childhood, and if we don't heal it, we get stuck because our subconscious mind is trying to protect us from getting hurt again. And that is why I wrote my first book, The Emotional Reset, because I truly believe that achieving your highest dreams and goals gets a lot easier if you heal your emotions or emotional baggage, and then you can actually enjoy reaching those milestones. So in India, we grow up heavily influenced by the idea of log kya kahenge, or what will people say. Many of us develop an internal script that says, I must be perfect to be loved, or if I choose an unconventional path, I'm going to be a disappointment to my family. And believe me, I also thought the same way. And because of these unhealed fears, you might overthink every single decision, stay in a job that you hate, or avoid starting that passion project. So, emotional healing means doing the work, which is the kind of work that helps you reset your emotions, get connected with yourself, and realize that you don't have to carry the burden of society's expectations. You just have to fulfill your own expectations. Once you drop that heavy baggage, you suddenly have the energy to move forward in life. The third layer is the layer of nervous system regulation. So, your brain has a built in alarm system. When it feels threatened, it goes into fight or flight mode. That is because of a part of your brain called the amygdala. So you cannot be creative, peaceful, or make good decisions if your body physically feels like it is running away from a tiger. And that happens because when amygdala is activated, it hijacks your brain and it stops it from making rational decisions. Think about the daily hustle, rushing through traffic, dealing with work pressure, managing family demands, and constantly checking WhatsApp notifications. Your nervous system is constantly triggered this way. So you might feel a tightness in your chest or a racing mind. I have personally noticed that I feel so much more at peace when I reduce my screen time, and I'm sure you must have felt the same if you have ever taken a break from social media. Social media is not bad inherently, but what it does is it steals the time that we could have used to reconnect with ourselves. And inevitably, we tend to compare our lives with other people's lives and we feel like we are lagging behind. So, what it does, it makes us feel scared and again triggers that part of your brain, which is the amygdala, which causes you to feel even more anxious. So, we need to signal to our body that it is safe. And that's what nervous system regulation is all about. So, this is where moving from survival mode to creative mode happens. It could be as simple as practicing 5 minutes of deep breathing, or taking a quiet walk, or just having your morning tea in silence without looking at your phone. When your body relaxes, your mind opens up to new possibilities. The fourth is the layer of vision. Your brain is like a GPS. If you only keep telling it what you don't want, which is, I don't want to be stressed, I don't want to go broke, it doesn't know where to go. And you might say, I'm not telling my brain that, but you are telling that when you're complaining. You have to give it a vivid emotional destination to drive towards. For example, instead of focusing on, I don't want to be stuck in this boring routine, you create a crystal clear vision of the future. And that's where most people go wrong, or they get confused because they don't really know what they want. So imagine you have a goal to share your voice with the world, which is my goal. Your vision is not just, I want to be successful. Your vision is incredibly specific. You imagine yourself confidently recording your very own podcast, or you vividly picture the feeling of holding a book that you have written. And that's what I did when I was writing my book, that I visualized my book being in bookstores all around the world. And when you literally feel that future, your brain starts looking for opportunities to make it real. Number five is the layer of aligned action, which means taking small, brave steps. Spirituality, psychology, and positive thinking are all beautiful, but they are completely useless without action. Change only happens when your new beliefs meet reality through daily steps. So you're showing yourself what you're capable of doing, and that is what increases confidence. So let's say your vision is to help the next generation become more emotionally aware. Listening to lectures and reading books is the preparation, but the aligned action is actually doing it. It means taking the courageous step to print out a proposal, talk to the parents, and actually launch an emotional intelligence club for the kids in your neighborhood. And I'm saying this because that is what I actually did. It was scary at first, but taking that real world action is what turned a dream into a living, breathing transformation. And it gives me immense satisfaction to see kids actually enjoying learning all of these things. So, I want to leave you with a beautiful paradox. When we begin a journey of self improvement, we think we need to add things to ourselves. We think we need to acquire more discipline, more confidence, or a new personality. But the truth is much simpler. As Rumi said, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. That's so beautiful, right? Transformation is not about becoming someone else or someone new. It is about removing everything that is not you or not your true self. The inherited fears, the conditioning of society, the limiting beliefs, they're all not you. As these heavy layers fall away, something entirely natural begins to change. Peace feels natural, joy feels natural, and Life begins to feel less like a desperate struggle to fix yourself and more like an unfolding journey of discovering what you always were. So, can we stop feeling stuck? Can we completely transform our lives? Yes, and we can do that in profound, measurable ways. The real transformation is not about becoming superhuman, but we are just becoming deeply, authentically, unapologetically human. And when you do that, you realize that the peace and the strength you spent your whole life searching for on the outside was quietly waiting within you all along. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode resonated with you, take a quiet moment today to ask yourself that one simple but life changing question: who am I becoming? Until next time, take care of your mind, your emotions, and your inner world.